Hello and welcome to Awaken the Word, a journey into Christ consciousness. I am your intuitive guide and fave spiritual girly, Amanda, and today I have joining us Lisa Grey.
Hello.
She is a medical intuitive and also practices in sacred activations. So I wanted to have her on because I thought, what better way to connect back to ourselves than through the element of energy? Considering that we're all energy, and a lot of the time we have certain blockages within us that are creating almost like havoc and dysfunctional programs in our life. So when we talk about building that bridge over from that state of fear, that self-made identity back into a place of love, the first person that came to my mind to really talk about how we can create a solid foundation as we walk across that bridge is Lisa, because of her guidance into the chakras and how we can learn to release some of that old programming throughout our different chakras and allow us to awaken to the truth of who we are. So I'm going to just open it up to Lisa and just kind of ask about your background and, if you want to tell our Intuitive Bestie community just a little about yourself.
Okay. Thank you for that introduction. And okay, so sacred activations was one of the first modalities that I really connected with when I started out on my journey. There was just something that felt very, very true. So when you start like opening up, like to trusting yourself, you just feel like what resonates the most, right? And sacred activations goes into um, one, clearing out different belief systems that you're holding on to, whether you know it or not. That's in your field, consciously, unconsciously. And as those begin to clear, you start to open more. It can even like help you awaken your gifts that lay a little bit dormant or what you feel is blocked, removing those barriers. Um, so sacred activations is kind of like meta programming. It goes like deep into not just your chakras, but even like into the neural pathways. Can like help clear and rewire your brain. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and then with medical intuitive, it can not only just go into different energy centers, but within the body, it can go into the cells, the organs. We hold energy in our organs, belief systems in our organs, so you can learn to connect with your body and feel where, and you don't even have to have sacred activations for that. You can start doing little exercises to tune in, like even when you're trying to decide what would be good for my body today, you can close your eyes, take a breath, and be like, body, like, is this a good choice for me today? When you're like picking out food in the store or anything like that, that's gonna be like at the highest and best for you. And you can like tune into like, what is my yes and what is my no? Or if you're clairaudient, sometimes you'll hear, it just depends on like what's natural to you. But if you're just beginning and you're learning to trust yourself, you can kind of tune in that way. I still do it.
Yeah, no, I do that as well. What's interesting that I really want to talk about is, so I've talked with you about a lot of my gut health issues, and in kind of dissecting like why I had so many issues was all around my sacral, my solar plexus chakra, and I started switching my diet based off of what other people told me as opposed to tuning into what made me feel really good. But what I uncovered was that it had a lot to do with my sense of unworthiness and like my projection of how I felt about my body and myself. So essentially a lack of love. What's interesting is when I started seeing myself in my vulnerability, talking to myself in the mirror, I actually noticed a shift in that as well.
I've done that too. When I was very like first starting out, I started that practice of like looking at myself and just saying I love you. Like that can be so vulnerable because you find something, you're like, whoa, I can say this to myself and really mean it. You see yourself in like a whole different light without anybody else's opinion or judgment.
Mm-hmm.
The more you come into that, you start to see others that way in their reflection, and that connects into that Christ consciousness, believe it or not, because the judgment is it's just dropped, and it kind of raises your vibration to see through a different light, which it all connects together.
Yeah. So when starting out as like a medical intuitive, I guess like the first question to ask is like, do we all have the capability to be medically intuitive when it comes to our own energy field?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, you can come up against the belief that you can't, and it takes a lot. It takes some people naturally open up in different ways, right? When they're starting out, like to tune in, like, well, what is my gift?
Mm-hmm.
But it begins with trust,
Mm-hmm.
like just like trusting your body,
Mm-hmm.
like getting to the root cause of certain things and starting to listen to like where are you holding certain beliefs in your body. It can open up you'll start to feel your channels open up.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can feel something that's like when there's this like gut heart connection, but the chakra is just spinning up and connecting together, and I can get like a full body yes, or just like really feel when something's in flow, without anything disrupting that. You know what I mean? I feel like anybody can tune in, whether you that's part of your intuition, right? You don't have to like be clairaudient or anything like that. You can tune into what is the knowing that I'm getting from this. Like where in my body do I feel this and why?
Yeah.
And like ask yourself like what's coming up, what do you feel, like what words come across in your awareness, and then start asking those questions. And even like tuning into yourself every day through journaling, things like that. Not just, yes, it's like connecting to our body, it's connecting to yourself, but like consciously every day, and building that relationship.
Yeah. So kind of layering on top of what you're already talking about, which is like tuning into your body and asking, does this feel good? Like, what is a yes? What is a no? What are some other ways that our community can begin to tune into their intuition and release those blockages using like any medical, intuitive, or sacred activation practices?
I know one thing that's coming to mind right now is like I'll have awarenesses of certain um, parts of or stages that I've gone through that'll be like I can have like a flashback of like when I was a child and something was going on, and then I could feel somewhere in my body where I'm holding something, and I can be like, oh, that's some inner child stuff that's coming up for me right now. So little things aren't always so little, those can be your messages, and trusting, like taking the time to slow down for a minute to be like, to breathe, one, like connect, breathe, like, oh, I feel like that's a message for me right now. And like, what is this? Maybe just like have that like curiosity and taking the time to slow down to even notice it, it, like it's nice to be able to have the toolbox of sacred activations to run the energy around it, or even like those things. But if you're just starting out, I feel like it's slowing down, it's connecting with yourself, it's breathing, it's like disconnecting from everything else for a little while and making time for yourself to learn what those things are for you. And yeah, like tuning into your heart, like I really believe that's a big thing. It's to like maybe just put your hand on your heart and slow down for a minute and be like, what is this showing me? What is this telling me? Like, what do I need to know today? Or, like even grounding yourself when you first get out of bed in the morning and just starting little rituals for yourself and just like asking to connect to the earth, and be fully connected and grounded in your body.
It's almost like you're setting yourself up for a pathway of illumination or evolution when you can become like consciously aware of your energy, but also like placing your hand on your heart, when we experience trauma as a child or anything that happens in our childhood, like we become so disassociated from our bodies. And I feel like medical intuition kind of helps us to come back into our bodies. But even just the simplicity of pausing and putting our hands on our heart shows us that, we do have ourselves and we're safe here.
Brings you back to presence, right? And it's important to feel safe in your body. You're meant to experience life, not be up here floating around. You want to ground into your body. And the more that you can ground in and be present with yourself and be present with life and then with the moment, no matter what comes in, it helps you return to that knowing. It helps you, no matter what you're going through, it helps you move through it a little bit easier, and kind of alchemize any situation. I feel like
Yeah.
no matter what it is, it can shift your whole life when you start really grounding into you and trusting yourself and like finding those little things that come up for you and not running from it and not bypassing it, loving yourself through it.
Yeah.
It brings so much awareness, and the more you trust what you're feeling, what that internal knowing, the more you create a healing within yourself. The more you realize, hey, I can feel my body. I can connect. I have I have just as much of an intuitive gift as Amanda or as Lisa or anybody else. Like, you start trusting you and you start trusting life, and um, all those other things will start to fade away. Like, what's not meant for you will drop away, and that's all right.
That's so beautifully said, because it's like learning that we all are unique, but it's like the self-acceptance of our own gifts. And I thoroughly believe that being able to not only look at the pain that is coming up, but learning to love yourself, what you're saying, loving yourself through that pain is one of the greatest feats of strength that we can offer ourselves, and show ourselves that we have within us, because it opens us up to this whole new level of self-empowerment and what it means to be a divine spiritual being having this human experience. Like, we use our divine nature to hold that brokenness inside of us. And
and you don't have to stay broken. You aren't your trauma. You are divine. We are divine beings. These are experiences that we're here to shed light on and move through to raise up. Like, it's important to realize that you don't have to stay stuck in it. It can be real easy to spin out into like the things that have happened to us and let that be like who we think we are, but that's not ever who you are. You're so much more than that. And it can be really I feel like it's there's so many different things coming at you all the time that, oh, you're so much more, but you are, like, it really isn't just a saying. You start to feel it, you start to know it, and you start to emanate it, and that's who you be,
yeah,
which is awesome.
it really is. It's like that is your fullest expression of your authenticity, and you're learning what being authentically you means to you, and how like harnessing that vibration, harnessing that truth can radiate out and like can create such waves of change in the world. For those people that are asking the question, like they have the awareness that they're not their trauma, they're not the things that happen. And I talk about that a lot is, we aren't the beliefs that we say to ourselves, we're not our past. Like, we have to learn to let that go in order to move back into our Christ consciousness. But what would you offer up as some just like simple ways in which people can connect back to their truth?
I really believe it's a relationship with yourself. Like, start doing these little things that are just like for self-care, like go buy yourself some flowers and like put them around your house, keep them next to your bed, you know, take a day and just decide not to respond to anybody and, do some things that just make you feel good, like those are little things you can do, and like, and self-care is huge. It connects you back to self, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like nothing, you know. It just seems like, oh, that's so simple, but really, how many people take the time to do it?
Right? Like before it was like, oh, I'll get around to that, or like, oh, I'm too tired, I'll do that tomorrow. And it's like the importance of doing it now and in the moment and honoring yourself, because if we are not taking the time and creating the space to love ourselves, then we are just going to be perpetually stuck in that cycle.
You get stuck when you don't take the time for yourself. You start to realize you're like in a state of burnout. You're not paying attention to what's going on in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, why is this going on? You're not even like tuning into why is it going on. Have you
Mm-hmm.
slowed down enough to like figure that out, you
Yeah.
know, like to really tune in and see what's out of alignment for you? Because when something feels like it's in alignment, you truly feel like, what's going on? This is amazing, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Like things just start kind of going boom, 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 and falling into place, you know. And then some things will even drop away. It might not
Mm-hmm.
always be what you think it is, you know. Those things falling away sometimes are the blessing, right? You
Truly.
know, and like it
Yeah.
can create big shifts in a big, beautiful way to let them go, and
Mm.
instead of being like getting in a state of panic and stuff like that, you
Yeah.
know.
It's like we love ourselves so unconditionally that whenever anything falls away, we are not attached, because that is not what we truly love. Like we know that our safety, our foundation lies right here within our hearts. And anything else that decides to leave our lives, that's okay, because it's only meant to expand us and to help us evolve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those experiences help us grow. It's not always the easiest, but it can be what makes you in a true knowing of what you want, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And not just like spending time alone too. It's spending time with people who you truly resonate with, and bring out the best version of you know, that light you up, you
Yeah.
know, they get you. And like that's also important too. And if you don't have that, then tuning into the kind of energies that make you feel that way. Because when you can like tune in and resonate with something, it also brings in that into your field, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that kind of energy, that vibration, and you raise up, you know. Things that make you feel good is important, you
Yes.
know. And I don't know what else.
Well, I feel like, yeah, even for those people that, and I mean, myself included, I'm sure maybe you're the same way, but um, I definitely, in my, like, looking back on my journey, was surrounded by people that served me at that time, because that was my vibration. That's what I was attracting into my life. But as I started to learn how to love myself and honor myself and take care of myself, that's when I noticed beautiful relationships coming into my life. I also want to offer up I was actually writing about this today. As Buddhist practice, it's a Buddhist meditation. It's called loving kindness, or metta. And it's where we tune back into the heart and we just shower ourselves in words of love and kindness. Like, may I be safe. May I be held. May I be loved. Like, may I be healthy. And you just repeat that over to yourself as you sit, as you're saying, as you breathe and you find stillness. And then when you feel like you have just draped yourself in these words of love, then you can start sending them out to other people. But this practice really helps to anchor in self compassion and expel the belief of unworthiness, which is something that I definitely struggled with a lot throughout my journey, which was the sense of unworthiness and releasing that program and attachment to that belief. And I also just kind of want to offer up um, maybe just a quick little meditation if you want to run us through for our community, about maybe love or something around the heart.
What I can do is I can run some grounding energy, and I'll do like a few activations that help ground and connect and set up your sacred geometry. And then I'll run a couple for the heart. And when I'm running the energy, I'll be silent. I'll say the name of the activation, and you might see something, you might not. You might just hear something, or you just might feel it. It'll help subtly shift things in your life and in your reality and in your consciousness. So, everyone, just take a few deep breaths. Letting yourself ground all the way down to the crystalline core of Gaia. Call in our divine teams, angels, guides to assist and support. Creator to run the sacred activation. Mother Earth and Gaia. The Earth. Tree of life. Lord Metatron. Helps activate the DNA. Flower of life. Activates the Christ consciousness. Unconditional love. Fifth dimensional grid system and above. Mother Mary is a heart activation. She helps you release judgment. Step into that unconditional love. Sacred Heart. I'm going to stack in heartstrings, feeling like sometimes we have the tendency to let people pull, like it feels like a tugging in our heart chakra, right? Like, so we're just going to release that. One more. 13 petals of the heart. Ask this continue to run in the background until complete. And created around Gaia's roots to fully assist everyone around back to the body. And you can come back to this as many times as you want to. And it will just continue to like remove layers. Ready? Just open your eyes.
That heartstrings one, literally, I felt my heart like open, and I felt something like being pulled from my heart.
Yeah. You know, you can hold on to things or allow you. Sometimes you can even like not notice that you're holding on to someone else's energy, and it can feel like this tugging, you know. And that one just came through. Like, there's gotta be a few people that are holding on to, you know, having that, you know.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. That was so beautiful. If you guys loved this, be sure to comment which one you really enjoyed. And if you felt anything, definitely let us know in the comments below. Because, like I said, we're all in this together. We're community. We're here to rise together. And we'll just kind of wrap up here just by thanking Lisa for coming on and just running these activations and just talking to us about how ultimately medical intuition and sacred activations is all about connecting back to our heart and connecting back to ourselves. And with these little tips and tricks like stillness, grounding, doing little rituals for yourself, journaling, taking the time to pause and reflect can really help to nurture our relationship with the self. And if there is anything else you want to add or share, Lisa, I just want to say thank you so much for being here.
I'm very grateful for being here. I look forward to seeing how this might have supported you, and thank you, Amanda.
Thank you, thank you. And to just wrap up, I just want to say that you guys are an absolute blessing and a treat. And my prayer is that anyone who feels called to receive this message, just let me know in the comments below. And I just pray that this message reaches the people who are meant to receive it, to help you awaken to the love and the truth of who you are and why your soul is here. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Awaken the Word, and be sure to like, share, and follow along for more ways in which you can live an intuitively guided life. Thank you so much. And until next time.